It's time for Remodel Revolution. And now, an award-winning contractor with over 40 years' experience. Here is Alex Guthrie.
Welcome to another episode of Remodel Revolution. We're coming to you from the Remodel Revolution World Headquarters, deep in the heart of the great state of Texas. I'm so glad to be here with you. I'm your host, Alex Guthrie, and I have with me today my co-host, our co-host, Mr. Chris Miles.
Anybody's co-host.
There he is. Yeah.
How are you today, man?
Man, I'm fantastic. How are you?
Not bad. It's a little
Chris was doing a little stint in Vegas last week. He's a part-time dancer.
You know, it's a tough job, and somebody has to do it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Did you make any tip money when you were dancing in Vegas?
No, actually, I had to hand them money to watch me. You know, this was
that's called the get out of jail card.
Yeah,
brother.
and it kept going up. No.
Well, Chris is going to report to us about some things he found in Vegas. Vegas last week had the International Builder Show, and it is
Kitchen and Bath Show.
And the Kitchen and Bath Show. Thank you. I wasn't there yet.
Okay.
And it was. It's the largest. Is it still the largest convention in Vegas? It's it's huge.
No,
it used to be.
It's roughly 100,000. We got to that discussion when we were out there. The biggest show is the CES show.
Of course. Consumer Electronics Show.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is 175,000.
That is amazing.
It is.
That is amazing.
It is.
So at any rate, the International Builder Show is still huge and very respectable. And it coincides with the kitchen bath. What's it called?
KBIS, Kitchen and Bath Show.
Kitchen and Bath Show, KBIS, right? Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
I know this is true because I looked it up.
It's from the Kitchen and Bath Industry Show.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes,
that's that one.
Plumbing, toilets, you name it.
And you went to both.
I started at the Kitchen and Bath Show. I really wanted to go see what the latest and greatest was in they have plumbing fixtures, appliances, anything that's going to go in your kitchen and
your bathroom.
Yeah.
That makes perfectly good sense.
And they had some really good looking stuff.
But first we have our news flash.
The
first thing today is our news flash. This week's conservation tip, is water conservation. Now, last week I did a conservation tip on recycling. This week we're going to talk about water conservation. Now, this is something that, particularly if you're new to North Texas, I want you to never forget, because sooner or later you will experience it. We are 3 months away from a major drought after every rainstorm. Do you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's true. So I thought that I had a friend that once told me that the new oil is water. And this was in the 80s. She told me this. Now, why would she know this? Well, she knew it because she grew up on cotton farms that are now named Plano and Frisco.
That was a big farm.
It was a real big farm. And there were several families that owned all that land, and they knew all about water and water conservation and lack of water because they were cotton farmers. Anyway, I thought that was always interesting. Of course, now she's on permanent vacation, but she was right as rain about the rain.
Oh, please. No pun intended.
None whatsoever. Excuse me. So let's talk about some plumbing conservation. We're going to just we have a short list of things that you can do if every one of us takes the initiative to be a little more conservative with water, it helps, it raises the boat for everybody. No pun intended. Get that?
I got it.
Okay.
I got it.
All right.
I got it. I'm on it.
So let's talk about the new toilets. The new toilets are 1.5 to 1.5 gallon flush. You have to pardon me. I've got a little frog in my throat this morning. Sorry. The thing is, when they first came out, we first started using them, they mandated them. Chris will attest to this. They didn't work very well. The American-made ones were particularly bad, and they tried all kinds of interesting things, like putting air little devices in the top of them that blow air through them, and sometimes the lid would blow off, and sometimes the toilet would blow up. And they sounded like, when you'd flush them, well, it kind of sounded like a jet plane landing on the roof. So in the middle of the night, it was particularly tough on old people like us, because when you get up 3 or 4 times during the night, you wake the whole neighborhood up.
I actually, did you ever try one of those?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I actually thought I was going to be sucked down in there.
Yeah, no, we won't go into detail on that.
No.
But people complained about them, and they were trying to hoard the old timey toilets, and we remodeled their house, and they say, keep the old toilets. Well, now that technology has really, really improved. And so those toilets work great. Actually, I like them better. I prefer them to the old timey 3.5 gallon toilets. And I do have one of each in the house I live in now.
A 3 gallon and a 1.5.
Yeah, I have an old one and I have a new one. I really prefer the new one as far as flushing goes.
And they're now making waterless.
Which is so
waterless
odd
fixtures
to me. Yes.
Well, I think our friends at Toto, remember they gave us that tour one year at the IBS show, and they're making waterless fixtures, which I've been in several commercial restaurants where they're using the waterless urinals. Yeah.
And they work.
Yeah, they do.
And you wonder how, but they do.
They do work really well.
You provide the water.
So what about leaky faucets?
Well, leaky faucets are interesting. I found this stat, and I thought it was very interesting. Did you know that a leaky faucet that drips at the rate of 1 drip per second can waste more than 3,000 gallons of water per year? That's the amount of water needed to take more than 180 showers.
I did not know that.
Now, I didn't do the math.
Okay.
But I guarantee you the person that wrote this does not have teenagers.
Does not have kids of any sort.
3,000 gallons is one shower for half of them.
Yes.
But at any rate, fix your leaky faucets. That's if you just think about all of the houses, all of the places we have a faucet, fix them. Fix them.
How about landscaping?
Landscaping's awesome because you can do zero landscaping.
Water-wise landscaping.
Water-wise, XERA, whatever it is.
Xeriscape.
Xeriscape.
Yeah.
And that is using native plants that don't require as much water. They're more tolerant to your local climate, and particularly here in North Texas, where now Dallas sits right on the edge of a humid, we're dead smack in the runs right through the middle of town. It changes these zones. The zone to the west is arid or semi-arid in Dallas. The zone to the east is humid, semi-humid. It's an odd rating, but and so we'll have part of our community that actually you can watch the weather come in, and half of the community doesn't get any rain, and the other half floods.
It's true, but
it's amazing.
But the point is, when you're doing your landscaping, try to pick out plants, drought-tolerant plants.
Drought-tolerant plants.
Yes.
Yeah. And those are plants that we used to call weeds, but we don't anymore.
That's true.
We don't.
That's true.
We don't.
Yeah.
Let's talk about watering, because lawn watering has always been a big deal in our part of the world. Well, it's everywhere now, but there's some really advances in yard sprinklers. So they're not getting out there and just soaking everything down just to, and then having it run down the street and creating a nice little trout stream down the street anymore.
I think the best example, if you're out driving around and you see them, these medians, they're starting to, put plants in them and grass and stuff in, and you see these pipes running around in the median. The cities are doing drip irrigation. So they're not spraying water, and some of the sprinklers spray so much water, about half the water just goes up in the air. So, but that's the easiest way to notice drip irrigation.
And you look at and you wonder how the plants are growing.
Yes, yes.
You don't see water spraying on them.
Absolutely.
And then there's subsurface, which is a real interesting yard watering system that I've run into just recently. I don't know if you use it in your houses. Now, I neglected to do this. Chris Miles builds high performance houses, and Chris has been sort of on the forefront of the new technology and the high performance house building for 20 years now.
Some people call it green building.
You can call it green. That's
call it a whole
that's
lot
why
of
you're
stuff.
green craft builders.
Yes.
So I thought you were just trying to use that to sell it.
No, no.
So it's actually green.
No, occasionally, like you were doing before the show, I put on this.
I have no idea.
Now I do have a bone to pick with you because you got into water in under the personal side, and one of your comments in this was, take a quicker shower, try cold water. Really?
Yeah.
How many cold water showers have you taken?
I don't.
And this is really more information than I need to know.
No, I don't take cold water showers.
You just put it down there just to tell everybody they can take cold showers.
When I first got married, and I was trying to figure out how women work, every now and then I had to take a cold shower, just so I could sleep at night. But I don't
It's
do that
maybe more
anymore.
information than these people really.
When your wife would say, "Hey, dude, go take a cold shower."
That's right. That's the big hint. Anyway, but turning off the water when you're brushing your teeth.
Yeah, turn the water off. Just
Do you
turn
do
it
that?
off. Absolutely, I do.
I don't do that.
I feel guilty if I don't.
No, I turn it on just a little bit.
You're so wasteful. Okay, when you're brushing your teeth.
Like my wife,
You're
or ex-wife,
so
whatever.
Ex-wife. When you're brushing your teeth, turn the water off, silly. Just turn it off. Spit, turn it on, rinse it. When you're shaving,
You turn the water off when you're shaving?
fill the bowl halfway, and then shave. And then
So basically, you're putting your face into this shallow bowl of water.
do you shave?
No, I actually went and got that stuff, that you can, it takes hair off.
I didn't want to know where you put it.
Keep going.
Fill the bowl up with water, shave, and then rinse, okay? If you leave the water running when you're brushing your teeth or you're shaving, you're wasting tons of – think about that. How many gallons does a sink faucet put out? 2.5, is it still, or is it 1.5?
I think it's
Per minute.
I think it's been 1.5.
1.5 per minute. So you do the
That's why they
math.
put those aerators. I mean, it seems like you're getting a lot more water than you are.
Yeah, it fools me every time.
It does me too.
Yeah. Okay. Subsurface watering when you're doing sprinklers is where Chris interrupted me so rudely. I love this is like a sprinkler line that's underground. It's under your grass, but there's no pop-up heads, so it just sort of it waters the lawn underneath. It's very cool.
Drip irrigation.
Drip irrigation.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
Put a cover over your pool so you don't have as much evaporation.
That's a good idea.
Repair and replace leaky hoses. Now, I'm not really good about this because I make my wife do the hose duty. She does the hose duty. So if the hose is leaking, spraying water everywhere, I just tell her, sorry.
No, you just go, hey, dear, the hose is leaking.
Hose is leaking, fix it.
Yeah. And water heaters?
Get your water heater serviced every year, once a year. Though you'd be surprised how much more efficient it'll run.
Now, explain what you have done when you're having it serviced once a year. Are you talking about where you hook it up to a hose and you drain the sediment out of it?
Yeah, they'll hook a hose up. So if you look at your water heater, at my house, it sits in a pan, and in the pan has a drain that comes out as well. So that your water heater pan should be draining. It should have it on a little alarm box. You can buy one now that's battery operated, that if water gets in that hot water heater pan, it sounds an alarm, so you'll know if your hot water heater's leaking. So those are some things that you need to make sure you have. When you're servicing your hot water heater, they're gonna hook a hose, and most people can do this. Hook a hose up to it. There's some valves on top. There's a cold water valve where the water comes in. There's a hot water valve where the water goes out. I think you probably want to turn those off. You know, maybe a plumber, excuse me, a plumber could tell us better, but you might keep the cold on. I don't know. The idea is you hook the hose up to it, you drain it out into the yard or the driveway, and you'll see tons of sediment. It'll look like a river bottom out there. And that is stuff that's coming through your water and settling down in the bottom of that tank. Inside your tank, you have a couple of tubes that actually circulate that water. When it boils, it goes up through those tubes and kind of goes around. Those things will get that sediment in them. And so you're having to use a lot more energy to get the hot water, or it's not getting as hot. You're not feeling as hot, so you use more of it. So service that thing once a year. That sediment will get cleared out of those tubes, out of the bottom of it, and you'll save money and not use as much water. That's the point. So what have I missed? Protecting our lakes and waterways. Now, I am a avid fisherman. I spend a lot of time on the water, and I'm very particular about stuff that's in our waterways. But I also grew up in North Texas. Now, Chris, you know, he's not as lucky as I am. He's an Okie, but we'll forgive him for that for now.
What is that about? Where did that come from?
The lack of water in your life.
That has nothing to do with boats, streams, lakes, or whatever.
It was a great opportunity. And so having grown up in North Texas in the middle of drought central, I'm very, very sensitive to our lakes being clean, because that's the water we get to drink. So protect our waterways. If you're using it for recreation, don't dump a bunch of gasoline and oil in it out of your old leaky boat. Fix it. Don't throw your trash in it. Take care of it. Don't let, if you live next to the lake, don't let the fertilizer get in the water. You know, we all have to drink it. So anyway, take care of our water. We need it.
Is it time for a break?
It is time for a break. We're going to be right back. Chris needs a break.
I need a break. What can I say?
The hardest working and arguably most important system in our homes is our air conditioning and heating system. It heats the air, it cools the air, and it filters the air. That's why it's so critical to have it checked and maintained by the very best professionals available. It's time to contact Total Air and Heat at totalair.com. Get that system pruned and tuned. If you want to have the very best experience, you've got to hire the very best company. Total Air's employees are honest, well-trained, and thoroughly background checked. I never have to worry about sending their technicians out to my clients' homes. Family owned and operated for 3 generations, Total Air and Heat has been a fixture in North Dallas for over 60 years. Total Air is a proud dealer of the Trane air conditioning systems, and you know how hard it is to stop a train, so give them a call at 972-881-0020. That's 972-881-0020, or contact them at totalair.com today. Today's Pro Corner is brought to you by Total Air and Heat, and I decided that it would be interesting. I had a contractor at one of my houses a couple of weeks ago, and he had to measure it. I think it was a floor guy, and I was going out to get my tape measure for him because I noticed he didn't have one, and he stopped me and he goes, "I don't need one." He had a laser measurer. And I thought it was really interesting how keep seeing these subtle changes, Chris, in our industry, where people are changing their tools and their habits. You know, the carpenters don't use hammers as much because they're using nail guns. The laser levels are really amazing. And then this laser measuring device is an amazing thing as well.
Well, the trim carpenters, the house that I'm building has a large kitchen. The kitchen and family room are kind of like all one room, and so the trim carpenters got it and set this thing up on a tripod so that they could mark where the center was over there and come across over here to the kitchen,
Right.
so they could center the kitchen in relationship to the family room. I mean, it was like I'd never seen anything like that
Yeah.
before, but it's really cool.
It's fantastic what's been done with these tools. And so I wanted to spend a little time today and talk about a few items I found that, and this is all at the big box stores, Home Depot and Lowe's. You can get them pretty much anywhere, and they're cheap. I mean, it used to be a super expensive thing, but for a homeowner to go and get a laser measurer is what I guess you would call it. The first one I found is about $30, and it goes about 65 feet. That's the picture Ziggy's about to put up right here. And I'm not doing this by brand. I'm not endorsing any brand or anything like that. This is just what I found. And I thought it was just really interesting. So you can set it on the floor to get a height. You can set it on a wall to get the length of a room. What I really found interesting is that they have different lengths that they'll measure a maximum of. So this one is 65 feet. The next one, and it's about $30. So a 30-foot tape measure, and I've got a picture of that later, but it's about $25. So, you know, the price point of these things has gotten really affordable. The next one we have is it's a DeWalt. It goes 40 feet, and it is about $30. And I liked it because it's rechargeable. And, you know, I'm all into that rechargeable
I am
thing
too.
because I don't know why we have any batteries now.
Yeah, I know.
You don't need them.
I know.
The next one that I found is, so that the rechargeable is $25. The next is just a good old fashioned tape measure. No batteries needed. But you've got it's big and bulky. You actually have to now, are we going to get to a point where kind of like a clock, where we've got a generation of people that don't know really how to read the hands of a clock, and now we're getting that with things like tape measures?
You know, but a long time ago, they used to make a tape measure that had a digital readout on top.
Yeah.
So when you were measuring, you could
Really?
either look at the tape measure, or you could look at it. But I guess they weren't popular. They went away.
But the problem, the real challenge is that you really have to know how to read the little lines on the tape measure.
Yes,
So
yeah.
it's not the big number that is important. It's actually the little number when you're measuring.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's
right.
true.
Okay. So now laser levels, Chris was mentioning that earlier, and laser levels are really, really amazing. And they're very affordable, but they'll go anywhere from about $15 to $600 or $700, depending on how technical you want to get with it, if you're a pro or if you're just doing it as a homeowner. But instead of the big 4-foot level like I have in the back of my truck, because I still have my 4-foot level, I always know the little bubble's always right.
That's right. Can't beat that. You can't beat that.
But the thing about the laser level is, like Chris was talking about earlier, you can set it in the room, and it will actually provide a red line wherever it is you're trying to level. It can go around the wall at a certain height, and you hold your tape measure down, and the line hits your tape measure, and you can determine exactly the height and go from there. It can also, you would measure the center of the room, like Chris is saying, and you would set it up so it'll actually show you on the ceiling, the floor, and the walls exactly where the center points are.
Right. Exactly.
It's incredible.
Yes.
And what it really means is, if your carpenters tell you that those lines aren't straight because it's an old house, you go, you've got a laser level, dude.
That's right.
So I have a couple of pictures. This first one is a $15 Ryobi. It's a cool little level. So you can see in the very top of it, it's got a little hole on top that you can either put a little tack in it. You can put just like a picture tablet with the big plastic one and hold it in place. Or on the back of it, you can put that double stick tape that pulls out. And so it doesn't mark the wall or stay stuck to the wall. That is a cool little level for things like hanging pictures. It's a great homeowner product. It's something you should have in your toolbox. The next level is a pro version. Now this guy is around $600, $550, $600. Now that's pretty. If you're in the industry and you're on job sites a lot, this is the level that you want. This will do everything. This marks the center of the room, a level line around the room, does all the calculations, and look at that cool tripod. That's pretty amazing.
It is.
Okay. So that's our tool section this week. That is brought to us by Total Air and Heat, and we really appreciate it. And now we're going to talk to Chris Miles. Actually, now we're going to go to our next spot. I'm sorry, I just looked at the clock. It's time to do another break. I'm learning. We'll be right back. Sometimes it's a question of do I call or don't I call the foundation repair company? Well, what if I tell you that I know a foundation repair company that will tell you if you don't need foundation repair? That's right. Hargrave and Hargrave Foundation Repair has been in business for over 50 years, and they know the difference. One of the last family-owned foundation repair businesses in North Texas. Not only are they honest, they know what causes your foundation to move, and they know how to fix it. Don't be duped by fly-by-night foundation companies that provide shortcuts and messy fixes. Call Hargrave and Hargrave Foundation Repair at 972-442-3415. At the first sign of trouble, Hargrave uses the Chance helical pier system exclusively because it's the highest quality, most reliable helical pier money can buy. 972-442-3415 or contact them at hargravefoundation.com. Welcome back. Chris is misbehaving during the break, which is normal for him. Chris and I did a show together for many years. We enjoy being together on the air. I really appreciate you being here.
Oh, glad to do it.
Chris went to Vegas
Kinda
last
like bringing
week.
back old.
Yeah. Only this time you get to see yourself.
It's that's the part. I always tell people I have a face for radio.
Well, last week we had the International Builder Show and the Kitchen Bath Industry Show, which was in Las Vegas, and I asked Chris to please go out there and check it out for me and behave. And all I found out was Chris called me and said, guess what? The porn industry.
Oh, you are going to bring that up,
the porn convention.
Listen, I
said, whatever you're doing, forget about the porn convention and get over there to the International Builders Show, dude. Do your job. So, did you ever make it
to the Builder Show?
Yeah.
Yes, I did make it to the Builder Show.
I looked at
I wasn't going to go past that.
I was glad that you got out there, and I was glad that you got to see do a little bit of scouting for us. So what did you find?
Well, the shows combined a few years ago after the recession in the late 2000s, and so you have the Kitchen and Bath Show in one hall, and then the other two halls are the Builder Show. And I enjoyed going through the Kitchen and Bath Show. Some of the things that they had in there were, they're still working on coming out with these faucets that you can talk to it.
Right.
You can tell it to turn down or turn up or even turn on.
Are we getting to a point where our hardware, our plumbing hardware is smarter than us?
Well, not yet, but they still have that. A lot of the brushed finish that everybody likes was still predominant there.
So we're moving to touchless everything.
Yeah, we really are.
Was there a lot of the touchless stuff out there?
There wasn't a whole lot of it. There was American Standard now is making a faucet. It was considered best of show. That is a 3D printed faucet, a faucet that they print out.
That
I know I can't wrap my hands around that.
That's
Yeah.
way beyond me.
Yeah. The Signature Kitchen and Bath had a 48-inch dual fuel pro range with a built-in SUS VIDE. I don't know how you pronounce that word.
VIDE.
Yeah.
Vide.
I guess. But where I was going again, dual fuel.
Maybe a smart person will watch this.
You can either do gas
someone.
or electric. They had a lot on outdoor kitchens. Outdoor kitchens was a big feature over there this year, and some of the grills and things that they're making. So the kitchen and bath show was really good. Again, the refrigerators, they're making them now so you can talk to it and tell it what you don't have.
So we're going to all this voice control stuff in our lives right
Yeah.
now, and most of the time I love new technology. Voice control stuff makes me a little nervous, only because I don't know what it's connected to on the other end and who's listening.
Well, one of the things that we got into was, and I had somebody else walking with. He walked up to them and asked them, wanted to see the entry locks, and with the entry locks, his question was, "I want wireless." Well, no, I want Bluetooth, and they go, "Well, there's a difference between the two."
Right.
So you want to.
Well, wireless would be connected to your home. In other words, it picks up the signal from inside the house.
Yes.
I don't know about the new 5G now. I don't know how that's going to change things. Bluetooth, of course, is something that has a distance limit.
Yes, it's direct.
Right,
So
right.
if you think of, if you've got wireless headphones at home that you use with your phone, they're limited as long as you're within range of your phone. So if you had appliances or locks or different things that worked within the range of your phone, that's fine. But as far as front door, you may want to get a wireless one that works with the modem.
Yeah, the only issue, I wouldn't call it an issue, concern that I have about that, right? I want to make sure the technology is not something that somebody can kind of steal from. In other words, they can tap into your front door system or your house system because of this wireless technology. I love wireless technology, but I just think I would be a little careful, particularly if it's brand new products. I might want to wait a year or so, work the bugs out.
Some of the technology has been out for a while, but it's not like in the old days where you could. I remember when we did that really nice show home in North Texas up in Frisco, and at the time you could drive down the alley and hold down your garage door opener, and every third garage door would open.
Yeah.
So no, that's a very, very good point.
yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. Another big thing, this was more on the builder side. Composites are really coming around. They're making composite windows.
Tell us what a composite is.
Composite is where it's made with different kinds of materials,
A blend.
a blend of materials, so that it makes it last, quote, forever.
So it's not wood. It's not something that'll rot or that the bugs will eat.
Yeah, and
It's non-consumable.
Yeah, and so what we're trying to do when we're building our homes or doing remodeling is we're trying to use materials that will last for a long time. I've been out shopping the last 4 months for an existing house, and and you realize
For you, a personal home.
personal, yeah, and I realized that a lot of the houses we looked at, the outdoor jams or the brick freeze around them, they're starting to rot out because they're down by the concrete and they're getting wet all the time. Now with this composite stuff, you don't have that problem.
Right.
And even taking it one step further, some of the manufacturers, such as Trex, are now they're kind of competing with Hardie. They're making composite siding. So when you're looking at siding, you have a lot of options as opposed to go with
Either wood or vinyl or aluminum.
you don't have to do
right.
that anymore because some of the composite, they're really good looking, and they have some of them that they already have infused the colors all the way through it. So that eliminates having
That
to
eliminates a lot of maintenance down
Yeah,
the
it
road.
does.
Plus, a lot of it's recycled material that they use.
A lot of it is recycled materials.
We like recycled.
My only concern is if you go in and remodel your house and you take some of these products out, if they're going to last forever in your house, they're going to last forever
In a landfill.
In the landfill.
Yeah, well,
exactly.
I am have sort of switched gears on siding products, and I was curious what you found. Now, we've been talking about cementatious siding for years because, boy, it came on and it was strong, and we were battling at the time lots of issues where they had used masonite, they'd use all these kind of materials that would just rot with water. And of course, with the wood we have isn't as good and old growth as the wood 100 years ago. So the siding, it sort of changed, and then they convinced us that it was, better for the ecosystem and things like that. But I found that I have become resistant to materials that are too difficult for the installer to put in. If it can't be done, simply, then I'm concerned that I continue to see in my business where I'm having to fix things that just weren't done right. And I blame some of that on the manufacturers because they're creating products that if I have to retrain my entire industry to put up certain products, that's a problem.
That's a real good point, Alex. I think one of the things, we'd go around and we'd talk to them about their products, and we'd go, your product is really good. House wraps is one of my pet peeves. The house wraps are very good. Finding somebody to install it right
Yes.
is very bad because they're just.
And what did house wraps were they originally designed to do was to emulate tar paper, what we'd been using for 100 years. And that, in fact, I remember I asked our good friend that works at Dow, that guy.
Yes.
What is a house wrap? And he said, well, it was designed to kind of replace tar paper.
Tar paper.
Well, what's wrong with tar paper? I pull tar paper off houses that are 100 years old. It's still there. But I don't want to poo-poo house wrap because house wrap's fantastic and it's definitely superior to tar
But
paper.
whether it's house wrap or any other product, it's all. We were talking about installing the house that I'll finish up next month. It's got Hardie all the way around it. So we had our choice of using that or using SmartSide. So we used the Hardie. Now my framer knows how to install the siding, and that means you keep the nails flush, and
you use their nails they recommend. I mean, if you don't follow, particularly that brand, if you don't follow their installation instructions and you have an issue, they won't stand behind it,
Right.
And they don't have to.
So installation is a big thing, and a lot of the materials, and they're coming out with new products, a lot of people just don't understand them well enough. Now, I will say this, I was very, very impressed. The show was kind of winding down. It was late on Wednesday afternoon, and we were walking from the back of the show to the front, and there was a venting company. I don't know if it was Panasonic or who it was. They had all the people that work the booth were in there, and they were giving them a session on building science. In other words, Vince
educating their
educating
people.
their people, which
Yeah.
I just thought was a wonderful idea. So whether you're venting your utility room or venting a bathroom, or you're bringing fresh air in, or using an ERV, this guy's explaining to them the importance and how they work, how many CFMs you should have for what particular function.
This is something that our industry has been struggling with for some time.
They have
At least
absolutely
15 years.
Yeah.
But, because our construction practices have changed and become very technical. We're building tighter houses, and it affects a lot of different things. That's a different show. But when we're back to the siding, the issue I was having with the cementatious products is that they're harder to cut. I keep running into problems where people don't install them properly. They'll fall down off a soffit if you don't nail them right. And so I went back to the more traditional type materials because there's also some excellent products there. And you told me you're kind of liking that too. You like that smart side and that man-made wood type siding.
I do like the smart side. I feel like that it really stands up real well. It's got a 50-year warranty, which means it's going to outlast the homeowners in all probability.
Yes.
So it's a real good material, and it's something that has kind of given Hardy a little bit of a run for his money.
Well, good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not that I don't have anything against Hardy or any other cementatious product. We also have sheathing products that we're putting on houses now that is a really good product if it's installed correctly. But again, we keep running into problems with some of these things where the people actually installing them just don't understand. They're not taught how to do it correctly. And quite honestly, in all fairness, a lot of the builders don't know anything about these products.
No, they don't.
They're just told to use them.
They don't. Somebody will come out and sell them and say, you really need to use this on your house. So the builder says, okay, I want to use this. And the subcontractor may or may not, he may know how to put it up like it was regular siding or something like this, but he doesn't really know how to put it up as per their specifications.
So I have a question for you. I met with a designer and a homeowner this week. And the designer made the mistake. She didn't know.
Here we go. He's gonna bring it up again. I know where this is going.
She mentioned something about putting wood floors in the kitchen.
Here it is.
And right about then, I wanted to just, in case they're watching, apologize to the designer and the homeowner. When my head exploded on, we're standing in their entry, my head explodes. I mean, it just goes boom. I go, no.
How many years have we discussed this? How many years have we argued
do you
about
put wood floors in your kitchen?
Yes.
Oh,
I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem
Never
with
had
it.
a problem with it.
Nope.
Just regular wood floors.
No.
No one's called you back.
I went into a house a couple of weeks ago that the homeowners had built about 5 years ago. It's a 5,500 square foot house. They're getting ready to move out because they didn't let the flooring either acclimate or there's water coming up through the
Moisture coming up through the
yes,
foundation.
and so it's like this.
Uh-huh.
But typically, if you keep your house up, I mean, if you're going to put wood floors throughout, you're going to take care of those wood floors, and you're going to wipe up if water spills. You're going to wipe it up, and if it's got a good finish on it, I don't think it's going to hurt it.
So I totally agree on a solid wood floor. I totally agree with that. And if it's a solid wood floor and it gets wet, it will go back down. It'll cup, but it'll go back down eventually. It takes weeks, incidentally. If this happens to you, if your wood floor gets wet and it cups and somebody comes in and says, well, you're going to have to yank it all out. You don't necessarily have to yank it all out. It just has to dry out. It'll go back down to where it should be most of the way. You may have to do some refinishing, but you don't have to necessarily yank it out. If you have an engineered floor, or certain types of engineered floor or man-made floor material, they do not do well with water, and you will have to replace it. And I only know this because I've had to do it, but never one of Chris's houses. Yet.
I think it's time to take a break.
I've had so much fun having you here today. I appreciate it. Thank you, Chris Miles, for co-hosting with me today. Thank you, Ziggy Becker, for being a very patient, wonderful engineer, doing a great job. Thank you, On Air Media. We love you. And thank you, of course, to our sponsors. We really appreciate you sticking with us, and we hope you're enjoying it as much as we are. And most of all, thank you to our audience. Don't go away. Stick with us. We're going to grow. We're expanding. We're growing. We're going to be offering new programs, new video series, all kinds of stuff. So hang in there. Hang in there with us. Until next week, this is Alex Guthrie signing off. I'll see you then.
The views and opinions of this program are for educational and entertainment purposes only and are not intended to replace the recommendations of a hired professional.
You can catch Remodel Revolution anytime. Follow the show on the website, remodelrevolutionradio.com, or on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest, using the handle @Remodel Revolution Radio. You can always listen to the show on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and TuneIn. And watch the show anytime on YouTube.